This is our list of the top 10 strongest Zoan devil fruits in One Piece. Number 10. Hebi Hebi no Mi Model Yamata no Orochi. This mythical purple fruit caused a lot of issues, not only for non-fighters like Komurasaki, but also for the talented 9 red scabbards. This is because it allows the user to become a giant and powerful 8-headed snake. In Japanese mythology, this creature is also considered a dragon, which explains the size, strength, and durability that it grants. Those 8 independent heads make the user very hard to kill. In fact, the user needs to be decapitated a total of 8 times in order to finally die. All Zoan fruits are known to enhance a person's stats when they consume them, but this wasn't exactly shown while Orochi was in human form, since he focused instead on ruling with underhanded methods. His snake form is where he really shined. A single snake head can lift a person, stretch to attack people who are further away, and some of the heads can even be hidden to keep them from being cut off. Not to mention that if the heads attack at once, they can cover multiple directions and cause a lot of destruction to the place they're in. It required all 9 scabbards to work together just to cut off a majority of Orochi's heads. And even then, he still had 1 left to survive their fierce attack. On the other hand, the human form can still survive getting their head cut off. Kurozumi was the only character we saw with it, but since his death, it's now back in the world and could be acquired by someone else with more fighting potential and experience, possibly allowing it to reach its full potential. Number 9. Neko Neko no Mi Model Leopard. Belonging to CP0 member Rob Lucci, this leopard fruit grants a user the means to become a hybrid or fully transformed feline. As for strength and durability, it's comparable to an actual leopard's feet and even surpasses them. Because of the animal that the user turns into, they gain more speed, agility, strong jaws, and teeth, as well as massive enhancements in jumping and climbing. Tobu Shigan Bachi is an attack that showcased the leopard's strength as well, as it was even able to pierce Luffy's rubber body simply by flicking. This is especially surprising since Shigan techniques usually involve directly jabbing someone, but full transformation allowed Lucci to attack by biting, just as a leopard would in the wild. To allow for more agility, the hybrid form can be modified further, but at the cost of losing some strength. This is only possible since Lucci mastered Seimei Kikan, a cipher pole technique for complete control of one's body. Despite losing some combat power through this, Lucci gains more speed and can attack even faster, while also being less easy to strike down in this leaner size. Additionally, carnivorous Zoan transformations are usually more powerful than other ones related to animals, making this one twice as good. Once awakened, this fruit provides another increase in size, strength, and a more agile body, plus a longer mane, which is more aesthetic than useful. An attack called Shugan has been revealed and was strong enough to stab Sentomaru's substantially large body. Sentomaru is a veteran armorman hockey user, so he's no pushover himself. Lucci was able to control the 5th form of his fruit, the awakened one, which could be partially because of his training as a government agent. We are about to get into the strongest ancient Zoan fruits in all of One Piece, and if you don't want our One Piece videos to be ancient by the time you see them, make sure to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on. Number 8. Zozo no Mi Model Mammoth. Currently belonging to Jack the Drought, this fruit lets the user become a gigantic mammoth, as if the man himself wasn't huge already. With a powerful trunk, Jack grows enormously in size, but it also makes him much slower. Because of that, it's harder for the user to dodge incoming attacks quickly. Although, trading speed for being able to break through buildings like an armored truck and leaving chaos in his wake is a pretty sweet deal. It also makes him durable enough to take attacks from multiple minks in their Sulong form. This is due to the mammoth's size, trunk, and thick legs. He doesn't even need to use any named techniques. But if the user is tired of being slow, they still have the hybrid form. It's more agile, smaller, and allows Jack to use his swords. This is because his hands are now free to attack or defend while still having the stability of being on 4 legs. A case that's unique to this devil fruit. It makes Jack into a mighty centaur, rather than a leaner animal like what usually happens with hybrid forms. And sure, there's still the usual water problem, except that it's remedied a bit by Jack being a fishman, so he can still breathe and be awake underwater. He just can't move around. Interestingly, Jack also has access to armament and observation haki, but chose to only use his devil fruit's abilities in battle. Number 7. Ryu Ryu no Mi Model Pteranodon. Used by the mysterious king, the Conflagration, as the name suggests, this ancient Zoan can either make the user a hybrid or full Pteranodon. With that comes an increase in size, but this time into a carnivorous, aggressive flying reptile. And as mentioned, being carnivorous gives Zoan users a leg up on some others. As for the increase in speed, it also applies to King's flying, with the tough flesh getting a boost in strength as well. Not to mention, the fear of falling into the water is considerably less since the user can just fly over it with their wings. Plus, these speedy and powerful wings, through enhanced hardness, can be used as weapons to slice and strike, even when only partially transformed. In full Pteranodon form, King can use his head as a weaponized slingshot, apparently mimicking how the dinosaur used to do so in prehistoric times, at least according to his own theory. This technique, called tempura udon, caused trouble for even Zoro, who was able to damage Kaido with an attack of his own. And he becomes strong enough to even damage ships by bashing into them. If that isn't enough, King specifically can rely on his rare Lunarian blood to enhance his Devil Fruit abilities by creating more fire than he already had. For example, shooting the flames at his enemies while flying. Or when he tries to slice through Sanji with his sharp beak, only failing due to the cook's Germa raid suit. Number 6. Artificial version of the Uo Uo no Mi, Model Seiryu. This is an unusual entry as the fruit was considered a failure by Dr. Vegapunk, not because of its strength, but because it turns the user into the wrong color, pink instead of blue. This artificial Devil Fruit was eaten by Kosuke Momonosuke. Following the age and size of the user, the transformation increases accordingly. In other words, when Momonosuke is his child self, he's a small but quick serpent-like dragon. But after being aged up, he becomes almost as large as Kaido's genuine version of the fruit. Either way, Momonosuke can fly and float using something called flame clouds as footholds or glide through the air. He can also create and control these clouds with enough practice. A more advanced technique involves the user shooting out attacks called bolo breath from their mouth. With it, Momonosuke stood up to Admiral Ryokugyu, aka Green Bull, and was able to burn through his wooden body and help protect Wano. Similarly, in that same giant dragon form, Momonosuke was able to harm Kaido by biting into him. Overall, the techniques and fruits remain the same as the first Seiryu fruit, with Momonosuke's age being a factor in the slight differences. But with time, he should master the Devil Fruit. His rare ability to hear the voice of all things, in further combination with his massive dragon form, could come in handy for calling Zunisha or other allies to his side. Number 5. Inu Inu no Mi, Model Okuchi no Makami. Part of the mythical class, this fruit allows the user to become a hybrid or full ancient wolf deity. By dumb luck, the current user is Yamato, Kaido's child. The specific wolf the user turns into is the guardian deity of Wano, meaning it has a reputation for strength and prestige in the nation's history. Just like other mythical Zoans, it greatly improves all base abilities. Strength, durability, and speed, along with an additional boost due to it being a carnivorous canine god. The wolf aspect gives stronger teeth and claws even in hybrid form. The fruit also provides the user with a special ability, and in this case, it's the creation of ice, which can be used without going into full wolf mode. This is in direct contrast with the fire that Kaido and Momonosuke's fruits can produce. The user's ice can be used offensively through a blast of icy wind, named Namuji Hyoga, defensively as a shield, or even as armor to reinforce the user's body, which Yamato calls Kagamiyama. While in purely human form, a technique called Mahoroba allows Yamato to infuse ice into their weapon and strike with increased power as ice shards outward from their attack. On top of that, Yamato's ice can be built into a dense wall and was used to hold back a blast that would have set off numerous bombs. As per usual, the hybrid form allows for more fluid movements and the ability to wield weapons. This was most notably seen when Yamato held their own against Kaido in his infamously powerful half-dragon form while performing Himuro Giri. It's a spinning strike from above that creates enough momentum and ice to knock even an Emperor of the Sea down. When faced with Kaido's fiery breath, Yamato's frigid blast didn't disappoint and matched its power head-on, canceling it out. And that's not even taking into consideration the 3 forms of haki that Yamato can use along with Okuchi no Makami techniques. Maybe more transformations await this Devil Fruit in the future. Number 4. Tori Tori no Mi, Model Phoenix. With the help of this fruit, Marco the Phoenix turns into a mythical phoenix. Whether partially or fully, the transformation gives him wings and fierce talons, while also unlocking the ability to fly. One kick from his powerful phoenix leg attack on goal not only sent Queen away, but also slashed his enemy's face. Unlike other mythical Zoan powers, Marco demonstrated the ability to focus his transformation on specific parts of his body. This means he could keep his head human, while having the rest of his body covered in flames or looking more creature-like. As expected of a mythical power, this fruit provides the user with a huge upgrade to their basic abilities, beyond what they already have from personal experience. Not to mention being able to use the legendary bird's abilities like wielding sharp talons to fight enemies and soaring above dangerous areas for scouting purposes. Due to being a mythical creature, blue flames can be used as well, which in scientific terms is always hotter than regular red flames. In this case though, this ability is called the blue flames of regeneration, since it works a bit differently. What makes these flames so special is that they don't burn or hurt others with the heat they create unless the user chooses to. In fact, it seems they're better suited to healing the user and their allies. Injuries like stabbings, shootings, and even the loss of limbs don't trigger much of a reaction from the Phoenix user. One could even argue that it's like feeling nothing at all, due to how fast the pain is undone with the regeneration. Even in human form, the healing still works so long as the blue flames are out. Marco can also heal a large group of people at once by launching his flames to envelop them through a technique called Nashi no Subute. This was a quick way to stop the spread of the Ice Oni virus, delaying the effects of it. But that's not all there is to this fire. For one, the Phoenix fruit can also easily make parts of someone's body intangible through the flames as if they were a Logia fruit user. And the durability of the flames makes it more difficult to permanently injure the user. Cloaked in the fire, Marco can also become a shield for the people behind him by using Fujiazami, which was effective against fellow fire user King. If the user is caught off guard as Marco has been, the flames would need time to reactivate the healing properties, creating a delay to focus on the injury. That's when something like the untouchable fire shield comes into play. It can be used to trick the enemy into believing Marco is invincible. Sure, it uses a lot of stamina, but if done right, the user could essentially win a battle in no time. But that's not to say the fruit's strength is anything to scoff at. In fact, Marco was able to hold back both King and Queen using his Phoenix form. And the flames can be used offensively, like Marco did with his Bluebird attack that he launched at King. Number 3. Hito no Mi Model Daibutsu. Now, it may not be a dragon or a prehistoric beast, but having someone turn into a revered Asian figure must be pretty intimidating all the same. This fruit transforms former Fleet Admiral Sengoku into a giant golden Buddha, aka a Daibutsu, which is Japanese for a large Buddha statue. So not only is it massive and daunting, but being made of gold guarantees the user will be hard to take down, seeing as it is a metal. Too bad that technically gold is one of the weakest metals. With the obvious change in appearance comes an increase in size and durability, as well as power. From what we've seen, users of the Daibutsu fruit can use this golden form to send shockwaves or blasts at enemies with their palm, while also dwarfing their enemies with their size. Not unlike many others on the list. This same attack was powerful enough to stand up to the incredibly strong tremors from the Guro no Mi that Blackbeard acquired from Whitebeard's passing, said to be the strongest paramecia fruit in the world. The Golden Buddha form certainly served Sengoku well over the years, as he became the Fleet Admiral until his resignation, and perhaps it aided him in his battle against Shiki the Golden Lion of the Rocks Pirates as he worked alongside Garp to capture the infamous pirate. Not to mention, even a certain rubber body couldn't fully deflect the damage from Sengoku's giant golden attack. Maybe the brightness of the golden aura around the user also helps to distract or blind opponents. We can only hope to see Sengoku in battle again. Number 2. Uo no Mi Model Seiryu. This incredible runner-up is so strong that it was used to make an artificial devil fruit in hopes of recreating its magnificence. It was originally seen during the God Valley incident, an event that was so important and controversial that it was erased from maps and history. During that time, Big Mom herself gave it to Kaido, creating a debt that he had to repay due to its value and sheer power as an ability. But what makes it so good? Well, it enables the user to become a giant azure dragon when in full transformation. The style of this reflects an Eastern-style dragon that looks more like a serpent rather than the Western kind, which can usually stand on its hind legs. The hybrid form doesn't lag behind though. It adds scales to the user's body and allows for more freedom of movement and tougher flesh, as well as horns and claws for attacking. Interestingly, this fruit also has a secondary hybrid form, which may be specific to Kaido or a hint as to its peak being reached by him. Either way, it makes him bulkier with a more beast-like appearance than his other hybrid transformation. Considering it's bigger, it's likely that it offers more power than the slimmer hybrid form. What's insane is that a roar from Kaido can also pull electricity from the sky, casting lightning bolts down on whatever's below. In full transformation, this fruit offers increased durability, but also pseudo-flight and impressive speed despite its monstrous size. There's honestly no comparison between this dragon and other transformations. It's the absolute biggest, hands down. Being that enormous makes the person an easy target for enemies and puts their allies at risk if they aren't careful with their expansive movements. But even if you can see Kaido coming, the dragon form won't be easy to overcome. For example, his fruit allows him to use Bolo breath to breathe fire from his mouth, something he can do with extreme ease even while drunk. And with the use of flame clouds, which can be controlled at the user's will, this enables something like flight by staying in the air for extended periods of time. If that's not enough, the Azure Dragon form can also use wind attacks through their massive body and movements. With a strong breath, Kaifu is created, sending out slicing wind blades. It was powerful enough to cut off Kikunojo's arm. And Tatsumaki is produced through the dragon's enormous body spinning and creating tornadoes around him to pull enemies closer. Kaido's also been shown combining his electricity with the tornadoes to further back his opponents into a corner. Everything about Kaido's full transformation is made for fighting, including his sharp claws, sturdy tail, thick body, powerful breath, and even the tendrils coming out of his face. Back when Odin was still alive, Kaido used said tendril to grab him and throw him aside because it's just that strong. That's not even mentioning the fire dragon Kaien Daiko that can be created as an accessory to his already terrifying form and is hot enough to burn most things away. But there's always going to be someone stronger in the world, and that's why this menacing dragon lost his place as a Yonko. But before we see which fruit is at the top, let's take a moment to look at some other Zoans who could have made the list. Honorable mentions. Ryu no Mi model Pachycephalosaurus is an ancient Zoan fruit that was eaten by Ulti, making her into a two-legged plant-eating dinosaur with a very durable skull. The hybrid form enlarges the user, but the full form is even more massive. This dinosaur's fighting style involves mainly headbutts, but it was weak to lightning attacks as shown by Ulti's struggle against Nami, Big Mom, and also Zeus, who finally knocked her down. Maybe the fact of it being a vegetarian prehistoric creature transformation and not a carnivorous one lowered its power level significantly. Not to mention, Ulti seem limited in their attack styles with this fruit. Who's Neko no Mi model Saber is an ancient Zoan fruit. As the name implies, the user can go full or part saber-toothed tiger, aka a Smilodon. With that came all the qualities of a predatory giant feline, in addition to retractable claws and extremely sharp and durable fangs. But the Smilodon's tail proves to be a major weakness that enemies can exploit by pulling it or stopping the user's movements. Who's Who also relied on his allies to outnumber his opponents, so it's hard to say how strong the fruit would be on its own and in a different context. Ryu no Mi model Allosaurus was eaten by X-Drake, and is an ancient Zoan that turns someone into a carnivorous dinosaur called the Allosaurus. Naturally, they have sharp teeth and claws, which is good for close combat, and it's even strong enough to bite through a pacifista, which is somehow smaller than the Allosaurus and made almost entirely of metal. With X-Drake's whereabouts currently unknown, it's hard to say if the fruit has been put back into circulation now since the events of Wano. The Inu no Mi model Kyuubi no Kitsune is Katarina Devon's nine-tailed fox fruit, which gives her all the abilities of someone who can become a fox spirit, such as becoming and sounding exactly like another person. But we still haven't seen enough of this fruit to know its true strength or the extent of its powers. Number 1. Hito no Mi model Nika. Did you expect something else? What could be above being a deity that's been on the run for centuries? Monkey D. Luffy gains the powers of Sun God Nika, though the fruit was deceptively classified as a Paramecia-type devil fruit named the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Already we can tell that there is too much power involved if the world government needed to fool everyone and hide facts from the world. It was later stolen by Shanks and mistakenly eaten by Luffy. But prior to this, it was consciously escaping the world government's grasp for 800 years. Zoan fruits are known to have a will of their own, but this seems like the strongest we've ever encountered by a landslide. At base form, the rubbery person the user becomes can do everything rubber can. This even involves their internal organs becoming rubbery. So their entire body can bend, bounce, be immune to electricity, inflate, twist, and stretch. What's more is that the user becomes immune to most basic weapons, like bullets, hand-to-hand combat without the use of haki, cannonballs, and even blunt weapons. And the main reason for this is because the rubber effect is permanently active and doesn't require a transformation like other Zoan fruits. It seems to continue even while the user is asleep, which we'll get into in a moment. With a body like that, it allows for defense and offense within a wide range by reaching enemies further away through a far-reaching stretched limb. The best example of this is the Gatling gun technique, a flurry of hits aimed at an enemy. In terms of protection, if the user inflates their body, it can be used as an airbag to slow or dampen blows. Luffy used an enhanced version called Gigantfusen to protect himself from Sengoku during Marineford. Luffy's also been seen saving people by grabbing them at a distance or pulling them to him. And this is just the bare minimum. As Luffy became more proficient, he unlocked different levels to this power, which he refers to as gears. The starting point is the first. Then we have Gear Second, which immediately enhances the user's speed and mobility. This is done through increasing blood flow and sucking up more energy. Because of that, it can sometimes leave Luffy completely drained after a fight, possibly chipping away at his lifespan. But so long as he eats enough food, his body can bounce back. And with more expertise, Luffy was able to cut down the amount of time he used this gear. Gear Third is a boulder technique involving air being blown into limbs to increase attack strength. Luffy uses this when he needs pure power, inflating his bones to make it even harder to counter him. On the other hand, the massive size his limb gains makes him slower, while also making him shrink once he's done using it. With time, Luffy found a way to increase his mobility by focusing where the air was on a single part of his arm, and he doesn't turn into a mini-man anymore. The Gear Fourth transformation involves his entire body, turning him into Bound Man. Not only does he look and sound like a sumo wrestler, but he has insane mobility and speed thanks to coiling his muscles like springs and covering most of his body in armament hockey. The speed and defensive capabilities are off the charts depending on which form he takes, Tank Man or Snake Man. Snake Man is a much leaner form, like a hybrid animal transformation. But like Gear Second, it takes a lot out of Luffy and requires him to eat an unholy amount of food. All of these can be combined with the use of Haki, including Conquerors, as well as the extremely rare Voice of All Things. And then there's Gear Fifth. Once the Devil Fruit's fully awakened, the user can transform to master imagination within reason due to becoming a warrior of liberation. Unlike with other transformations which involve animal themes, this one makes the user's hair and clothes change to white and their eyes become red. The most striking thing, as proof of the awakening, are the white clouds surrounding Luffy, making him look like a Greek deity. This makes sense if Nika is inspired by Nike, the winged goddess of victory. An awakened user can extend their rubber abilities beyond their own body, just by touching something or someone, and provides unpredictable attacks and changes to confuse the enemy in comedic ways. According to the ever-informed Five Elders, this is the most ridiculous power in the entire One Piece world. But like with other forms, there's a bit of a downside. Using Nika's power draws out a lot of energy, probably because of how powerful it is. It's as if two fruits were combined in one though. Plus, Luffy's only just started using this awakening and definitely can find ways to combat these side effects, just like how he has with all the others. And who knows, maybe there's a Gear 6 coming down the line. Now, check out our video on every admiral in One Piece history for even more strong characters.